Welcome to our next topic, where we study about various environment movements in India. India has been always a land of rich diversity, rich culture and rich heritage. And India has seen various movements where people have given their lives to save environment. Today we shall be covering a few such famous and a few other unknown movements in India which furthered the cause of climate change, which furthered environment sustainability, which furthered a res communes approach that the environment is meant for all. In today's topic, we study about such movements in India. So, what is an environment movement? It's an environmental revolution. It's defined as a social or political movement for the conservation of environment, for the improvement of the state of the environment. It's a green movement or a conservation movement and alternatively used to denote the same. So environmental movement is something that furthers conservation of environment for the improvement of the state of the environment. Here, what is the reason? The reason is conservation. The reason is preservation. The reason is conserving it for the future, preserving it for the present, and sustainably developing. When something happens, let's say this is a tree, a forest actually, let's say this is a very dense forest spread over 1,000 of acres, is being cut. Orders are passed that this is to be cut because here we have to build a dam. Imagine the loss of biodiversity that's going to happen over here. Imagine how many ecosystems are going to be lost. Imagine how many animals, how many microorganisms, how many plants are going to lose their habitat. So when people become the voice of these voiceless, is called an environment movement. And India has seen many so far, some of which were very large scale movements, which we shall be studying in this topic. The Bishnoi movement. The Bishnoi movement is a very ancient movement, one in the 1700s, where Amrita Devi, who was a female villager from the Marwar region of Rajasthan, could not bear the witness to the destruction of both her faith and the village's sacred trees. She hugged the trees and encouraged others to do the same. 363 Bishnoi villagers were killed in this movement. So she said something very moving, that if the trees are saved in exchange of our head, it will be a cheap transaction. So imagine the love, the selfless love that these people of Bishnoi show towards the environment. They said that if you cut our heads instead of cutting the trees, that would be a better transaction. So she was ready. These 363 people were ready to kill themselves, to get themselves killed, just to save the trees. Imagine what people have done to save trees, and imagine what we are doing today. All the previous modules that we have studied, all the various things that we can do to save the environment, movements like these should be our inspiration to do our bit towards saving the environment. Another very famous movement, the Chipko movement. As we can see, women are hugging the trees. This took place in the 1973 in Chamoli district of Uttarakhand. The leaders were It's sometimes often asked as an MCQ question. Sundarlal Bahuguna was their leader, and other notable leaders were Gaura Devi, Sudesha Devi, Bachni Devi, Chandi Prasad Bhatt, Govind Singh, Dhoom Singh Negi, Shamsher Singh Bisht, and Gyan Singh Rasturi. Again, they're hugging the trees. So the main objective was to protect the trees on the Himalayan slopes of Uttarakhand from the axes of the contractors. So the contractors had gotten a contract to clear the forest, and they were there to do deforestation, to make it a farmland, to make it clear for pastures or for other industrial planning. And Mr. Bahuguna, Mr. Sundarlal Bahuguna, he enlightened the villagers by conveying the importance of trees. So what did he do way back in 1973? He did public awareness. He did something you and I, as literate citizens of this place, should be doing: public awareness. So he enlightened the villagers about the importance of trees in the environment. He said that these trees with their roots holds the soil, preventing soil from eroding, which also helps in maintaining the monsoon cycles, which also provides pure air. Then, with his public awareness that he did amongst the villagers, the women of Advani village of Tehri Garhwal in Uttarakhand itself, they tied a sacred thread around the trunk of trees and they hugged the trees. Like we tie Rakhi to our brothers because we know that they save us, they are our protectors. So these women, as a mark of acknowledging that these trees are our protectors because they give us clean air, they give us food, they prevent the soil from eroding, they provide us monsoons. They tied a sacred thread around the trunks of the trees and hugged them. Hence, it's called Hug the Tree movement or Chipko movement. Silent Valley movement is again a very noted movement in India. It happened in the tropical evergreen forest in the Palakkad district of Kerala. Save the Silent Valley. Save the Silent Valley movement. So in Kerala we have the Silent Valley. As you can look at this picture, such a beautiful valley. Look at it. I mean, look at the lush green forests that are there. Look at the mountains that are there. Look at the beautiful clouds, and beneath it the river that's running. It's so beautiful. Now, there was a project, a hydroelectric project, which was to be installed in the Silent Valley, and the leaders of this Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad, which is an NGO, and the poet activist Sugatha Kumari played an important role in the protests. Their aim was to protect the Silent Valley, which is a moist evergreen forest, as you can look at the picture, from being destroyed by a hydroelectric project. The chronology of the events that took place in the Silent Valley movement is very important. The facts show how, if people come together to form a strong voice, big powers bow down. So the Kerala State Electricity Board had proposed a hydroelectric dam across the Kuntipuza river that runs through the Silent Valley. This is the Silent Valley's evergreen forest. These are the beautiful hills that surround it, and here beneath runs the river. Now, to construct a dam, of course, there's a lot of forest cover that has to be cut. So the Kerala State Electricity Board had proposed a hydroelectric dam across the Kuntipuza river that runs through the Silent Valley. In 1973, the Planning Commission, which is now replaced by the Niti Aayog, the Planning Commission approved the project at a cost of about 25 crores. It said that, all right, you can go ahead. And then many feared that the project would submerge 8.3 square kilometer of untouched moist green forest. Now, things that are happening today, this might look an insignificant number, but if seen from a very practical, rational point of view, even 1 square kilometer of untouched moist evergreen forest is treasure, is literally the richest thing we can have. So this project was covering these square kilometers of the evergreen forest, and several NGOs strongly opposed the project and urged the government to abandon it. And there was a lot of public pressure, and finally, after 1973, after 8 years in 1981, the Indira Gandhi government declared that the Silent Valley project will not go ahead. It will be protected. The Silent Valley will be protected and the project will not go through. Then, in spite of this, they even still set up a commission which was chaired by Professor M.K.G. Menon, who viewed this and said, okay, let's view if there are certain ways that we can go about, and the forest area can be saved and we can still have an hydroelectric dam. But this commission said that no, there is no way that in the Silent Valley you can put up a hydroelectric dam. So finally, in 1983, the Silent Hydroelectric Project was called off. In 1985, the Prime Minister, Rajiv Gandhi, then formally inaugurated the Silent Valley National Park. Now look at the impact. Well, this is a topic we shall be covering in our last and next topic, where we see citizens' role in saving the environment. But this example is again very beautiful. How public pressure led a movement and it transformed something as constructing of a hydroelectric dam to making a national park, to preserving it. How important is public pressure over here? How important is the citizens' will to save the environment that the governments have to bow down? Next is the Jungle Bachao Andolan. In the Jungle Bachao Andolan, in the Singhbum district of Bihar, the tribals of Singhbum protested against the government's decision to replace the natural sal forest with teak. Now, commercially speaking, teak grows very fast and it is very commercially favored because it has got a lot of monetary value. But the forest area is naturally growing sal, and you are saying that we will replace the entire forest of sal with teak. Imagine. And teak uses a lot of groundwater. Teak is groundwater, like a water intensive tree. So the tribals protested against the government's decision to replace it. They said that this would lead to loss of biodiversity. This would not only affect the plants, the animals, the ecosystems, but also the tribals who are dependent on the forest, which is their natural habitat. So the Jungle Bachao Andolan was such a movement protesting against the replacement of the natural sal forest with teak. And therefore, it did not fall through. This is the impact that public voices have. Narmada Bachao Andolan is again a very famous and very heart-wrenching story about saving the river Narmada. Although it did not see success, but the voices that came in this Andolan, the public that gathered, look at the crowd over here, it was 10 times more than this. It was a big social movement. It was an environmental movement, of course, but it was such a big social movement. So in 1985, the Narmada Bachao Andolan was a movement against several large dams being built across the river Narmada. Now the river Narmada, it's a large flowing river. Like it has a huge length, It has a lot of tributaries, distributaries, and it flows through a lot of states, because of which numerous dams were being proposed to be built through Gujarat, through Madhya Pradesh, through Maharashtra. And when environmentalists and other people saw that, they did an impact assessment. Now, governments, for some reason, do have to do things to make their nation go from a developing nation to a developed nation, and most of it is economy based. So they have to do a certain things, they have to make certain policies where development is given precedence over environment. But that's a very short sighted approach. We need to have a larger and a far sighted approach. So, the Narmada Bachao Andolan was a very economically boosting project from the government side to build dams across the river. It would have generated, it still does generate a lot of electricity. But leaders like Medha Patkar, Baba Amte, and other Adivasis and farmers and environmentalists and human rights activists, they did an environment impact assessment, and they saw that if these projects go through, the environment is going to suffer a lot. The natural habitats of so many things are going to suffer a lot. The biodiversity, the ecosystems are going to suffer a lot. And because of this, they started the Narmada Bachao Andolan. The movement first started as a protest for not providing proper rehabilitation and settlement for the people who have been displaced by the construction of Sardar Sarovar Dam. Now, this movement did not start in itself to not make the dams. It gradually grew to that. It started off at a smaller level that, okay, if you are making a dam, the certain people that are living over there, mostly Adivasis, you have to provide them rehabilitation, have to provide them resettlement, which was not being provided. So, this movement was firstly for rehabilitation and resettlement of the people who have been displaced, and later on, the movement turned its focus on the bigger issue of preserving the environment and the ecosystems of the valley. The activists also demanded that the height of the dam is too much. The Sardar Sarovar Dam was proposed to have a height of 130 meter. They said that the height should be reduced to 88 meter. And seeing the impact of these voices, seeing the strength of this Andolan, the World Bank, which was funding this project, it withdrew. It said that, yeah, if the environment impact assessment says that the ecosystems will be destroyed, we are not going to fund such a non sustainable project. Then the environmental issue was taken into the court. The court gave a judgment which said that you can construct the Sardar Sarovar Dam, but the height could not be more than 90. The demands were also not a success. The Andolan was also not a success as the dam could not be prevented. But the Narmada Bachao Andolan, today that we think about it, created a big social impact, created a big landmark in the environment history of India, in the anti big dam opinions in India. It was like constructing big dams used to be a norm, and with this Andolan throughout the globe, anti big dam opinions were developed. And also, because of the voices of the leaders, development and environment were first time brought into court. So, not always all the movements, all the protests fructify, but just because they do not produce the desired end results must not be a reason we do not raise our voices. It does leave an impact. The Narmada Bachao Andolan left a big impact globally, in Indian courts, in the Indian policy making. So all these movements, that we did today were reasons that India today stands at a better environmental law position, has a better environmental jurisprudence, because we have had history starting from the 1700s to very recently that tell us that yes, we can and we should do environment and development in a very sustainable way. These movements should serve as an inspiration to us to raise our voices whenever we can, to raise concerns where we see something is threatening the environment. With this, I end this topic, and I hope that whenever you see something wrong happening, you raise your voice. As in the previous topic, we started about the recourse that you can take towards a public nuisance for the SDM or towards the district magistrate. You raise your voice, you do your bit in creating your little movement. Thank you.